Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon here on YouTube, and then I post it up to Facebook. I also do these midweek question and answer things. Usually on Wednesdays is when that gets released. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I want to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. I've been getting great feedback from people using them. They're like, wow, this is great. I can get on to a therapist, and if I don't like them, I just go on and fill out some questions, and they put me with another one. Perfect. And it's affordable, which is what I love. So it breaks down to about $65 a session if you do a package of 4. So super affordable, super available, super international. You can get to them anywhere in the world, which is really cool. If you are here in the US, you don't like your therapist, you want to find a new one, you just get on to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez, and they will set you up with a licensed professional therapist in your state, master's level or PhD level. So betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Thank you. All right, let's dive into the question. You're probably wondering, where am I? So obviously, birthday weekend, I decided to go to Alaska. So I am wanting to see the Aurora Borealis. Hopefully I will. So, all right, so there's that. Okay, John is staying home with the pup because our puppy, Scotty, he's 15 years old and he has cancer, and it's kind of John's dog, so they're really bonded. If John leaves, this poor dog goes from one door to the next waiting for him to come back. So we decided it would be less traumatic on Scotty if John stayed home with the dog, and I went because we'd been planning this. We honestly, we didn't think Scotty was going to live this long. We really didn't. He's had cancer for a while. That dog is just a trooper, man. He's just like, nope, gonna hang out, and I'm like, cool. So I miss them. I wish they were here, but oh well. Okay, but I'm glad Scotty's alive, so that's good. All right, so let's dive into the questions, shall we? I told my family I was going to gray rock them, and now they are using psychological terms against me. Ooh, I talked about this a few weeks ago. Okay, so basically here's the deal. You never, ever want to tell your abusers what you're going to do, ever. You don't. We overshare, and we do that because we've been trained to overshare. We've been trained to tell them everything. And I think part of us tells them, hey, I'm going gray rock with you, or hey, I'm doing this, to try to get some little bit of control. And it's never going to work. These people, there's no there there. There's no there there. You know, in a healthy, normal family, you wouldn't have to gray rock, right? In a healthy, normal family, you'd be able to communicate and talk and, you know, share things and not hurt each other and not, you know, be mean, nasty, and whatever, so that you have to gray rock somebody. So telling your family that you're gonna gray rock them, what they're gonna do is they're gonna go look up and see what gray rock is, and then they're gonna start watching videos like this to try to use as much ammo, they think, as they can. Nothing makes me angrier when I hear ignorant people throwing around psychological terms that don't understand what they mean. I'm just like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, really? So, yeah. So you want to stop oversharing. So what we do is we overshare in an effort to gain control, or in an effort to make them wake up. That's a lot of the time. I think that inner child is just like, well, if I tell them this, they're going to get it. If I tell them this, they're going to stop. If I tell them this, they're going to... No, they're not. Here's the deal. Truly abusive people do not change. Period. Ever. Not on this or any other planet. They don't. Because their ego is too dedicated to being right. And they will be right at all costs. And so the danger is when you tell them, hey, I'm watching these videos, hey, I'm doing this, hey, I'm doing that, well, then they're going to go watch the videos, but not to learn, not to figure it out that they're the problem. They're going to do it so that they can start flipping the script and using it against you. So you got to stop telling them stuff, guys. You got to, because it ain't going to work. They're not going to get it. They're not going to have one of those, oh my God, I've been a total jerk. I need to change. I'm so sorry. That's never going to happen. I wish it would. Wouldn't that be nice? It would be so nice if you could just whap somebody upside the head with an enlightenment stick, whap, and they suddenly get it. But they don't. And sometimes they never get it. No, not sometimes. Never. They never get it. They go to their grave not figuring it out. They really do. Because their ego is too invested. And they've got to be right. And they've got to be, in charge and this, that, and the other thing. So you never tell them you're going gray rock. You never do that. You never do that. You never give the enemy a heads up, guys. It's like you really got to think of this as a battle for your soul. It really is, because it is a battle for your soul. Because what narcissists want to do, abusers want to do, whether that is a malignant narcissist or a malignant borderline, they want to control, they want to manipulate, they want to harm, they want to hurt, and they don't want you to live your greatest, fullest life ever, because then then they have to take a look at how miserable they are. So, and they're more invested in distracting themselves with harming people. So, you never want to tell them you're going gray rock. If you decide to go gray rock with your family, radio silence, and you just do it. And when you do it with family or friends or, an abuser or whatever, when you start going gray rock, you don't announce it. You don't. You just do it. And then you start lengthening the time out that you have contact with them. If it's a family situation, especially where you can't just cut it off cold, although I would seriously recommend that if they are abusive. But if you're scared about it, which a lot of people are, let's deal with reality here. It is really scary when you decide to go, we're done, So cut yourself some grace. Seriously, if you need to back out slowly, but stop telling them what you're doing. So what they'll do is they'll call and be like, well, how come you haven't called me? And how come you're not, why are you always, I'm sorry, I'm really busy. Or not even, I'm sorry, I'm really busy. Oh, somebody's at the door, gotta go, click. And you just do that. And you just keep lengthening out the time that you talk to them. So never, ever tell them what you're gonna do. Ever. We've been groomed. This is part of codependency. We've been groomed to tell our abuser everything we're doing. And it's dangerous. It is, quite frankly, because I can't tell you the number of times I've had clients that were this close to leaving and getting out and being safe, and then the abuser would poke. And then they, in a moment of rage, would just tell them, I'm leaving you, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Well, then lo and behold, the abuser does something so they can't. So you got to stop. You did not break them. You cannot fix them. Let me say that again. You did not break them. You cannot fix them. You may not walk that path for them. They have to do it. And if they continue to avoid, they're never going to get better, and they are going to continue to avoid. So, because again, the ego is too great. It will not allow them to go, what's my part in this? What should I be doing? Maybe I need to work on myself. They hate therapy. They hate therapists. They come up with every excuse in the book why they can't go. So, but yet they'll turn around and they'll use psychological terms if they think it's going to work. So don't let it work. So if somebody starts throwing around psychological terms and they're not a licensed professional therapist or a licensed professional counselor or a licensed professional anything, don't listen to them. So, yeah. All right. So I hope that answered the question. So this is a common issue, is that we overshare and we tell them what we're going to do. And I suspect it's the inner child. I think the inner child is going, but if I tell them this, they're going to get it. No, sweetie, they're not. I wish they'd get it. I wish everybody in the world would wake up. Then we wouldn't have wars and threats of wars and stupid things happening. So anyway, there it is. All right. Well, I hope that answered the question. Okay. I distanced myself from a friend and now she keeps asking why. Similar question. I can't go no contact yet. Okay, this is where you just blow smoke, seriously, because telling them the truth is not going to do any good. So when you're dealing with a toxic friend, okay, and let's say they're a coworker, or let's say that they're somehow, I don't know why you can't go no contact, but let's say that there's something significant, keeping you from going no contact. You just keep up the I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. And, eventually at some point you're going to have to like just done. And that's hard for us to do. It is, because we want to believe that the person can change. They can't. They won't. Trust me on that one. We want to believe that they can get better. They can't. They won't. Trust me on that one. And I'm not sure why you're not going no contact, but once you recognize somebody is toxic and abusive, you go no contact. You absolutely, even if it breaks your freaking heart, you go no contact. Because you have to watch out for yourself. You do. And we suffer from this length of time fallacy. Well, I've known this person forever. Okay, well, if this person were a financial investment and they started not only not returning but taking money, would you continue to throw money at it? And the answer to that should be a no, And so the same thing with friendships. When a friendship is toxic and they're just taking, and you walk away feeling slimed every time you're with them, why are you doing this to yourself? Go no contact. Cut them off. Seriously. So take a look at why you can't go. Yeah, what are the stories you're coming up with? What's the real reason that you're going no contact? Is it because you're afraid? And in that case, get with a good therapist. Go get with a good trauma therapist and work through, what is this fear? What are you afraid of? Because a lot of times what abusers will do, whether they're friends or whether they're romantic partners or family or whatever, no one will put up with you. No one will deal with you. You'll be alone, blah, blah, blah. Screw that noise. Seriously. And yeah. So what is the fear? What's keeping you from going no contact? This is what abusers do. Remember, they are acting on a level of maybe a 2-year-old. And so when a 2-year-old doesn't get their way, what do? They throw a temper tantrum. Or they do, but why? But why? But why? But why? But why? It's a boundary issue, baby doll. It's a boundary issue. And that's when you go, because I said so. We're done. And if the person was really truly toxic, you just go, you're toxic. I want nothing to do with you. And then you cut them off. You go no contact. But I wouldn't recommend doing that because they're not going to accept that. Here's the thing. Healthy, normal people, when somebody gives a criticism, the person goes back and contemplates and says, is this true? Do I do that? Okay, I need to work on this. Holy crap. And then they work on it, right? With a toxic person, they don't. They get angry, they get defensive, they get nasty, they, lash out, they do the whole thing. So basically, you've got to decide, why are you not going no contact at this point? You've lessened it, and now this person is noticing, and they're wanting to know why. So if they're truly toxic, you don't tell them. You just keep distancing, really, because that's the way that an abuser will hook you back. It's like, well, but tell me why. And you think, inner child, oh, they're going to get it. They want to know why. They want it. Usually no. No, it's just drama for them. They just want to find out another reason why they can start yelling and screaming and having drama. So, yeah. So what you want to do is, why? Because I've decided that that's the best thing for me. Boom. Boundary. And you're probably going to have to go no contact with them because they're not going to accept that. So if you're going no contact, they're noticing it, but why? I'm busy. This is a boundary for me. Please respect it. That kind of thing. Is it easy to do? No. Is it necessary? Yes. So there's that. I hope that answered the question. If it doesn't, shoot me a PM and let's see if I can get a better answer for you, because I don't also know the circumstances. I'm not quite sure why you can't go no contact. So, okay, can you explain nature versus nurture? Okay, so basically nature, nurture, the eternal question. So in psychology, it's always a question of, well, are they born that way or were they raised that way? What caused them to be the way that they are? And honestly, it's a combination. It's a combination of, their makeup, their psychological makeup, what they were born with, and nurture. So nature, nurture. You can come from a family and one of the kids will turn out like a narcissist like the parent, or borderline like the parent, or whatever, and then the other kids will be fine. Why? Same parents, raised exactly the same way, but yet One of the kids goes down the personality disorder path and the rest of them don't. So I think there's a predisposition to that. I think there's a predisposition. I mean, obviously narcissists are born without empathy. Antisocial. No empathy. So if you go through the personality disorders, remember how I did that a few weeks ago? One of the key things in almost all the personality disorders was a lack of empathy and impulsivity. So that can be learned. The impulsivity can be learned because you're watching your family do impulsive things. But the lack of empathy, that's innate. That's born. You know, it's like little kids, you can tell the ones that are going to become antisocial if you watch them. So, because usually little kids are very empathic. They like the, you know, soft, fuzzy little things, kittens, bunnies, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, nature, nurture is, we're born with a certain makeup, and then nurture either prevents us from going over the cliff or completely pushes us right off the cliff. So, and again, it doesn't have to be as extreme as the example I used the other day, because somebody was like, well, you know, this is just this person is self-reporting and how do we know to trust him? Point. Got it. But if you look at, well, not but, and if you look at families though, and you see like the family dynamics, usually with a disordered parent, you'll see one of the kids going right down that route and then the other kid's not, you know? So nature, nurture. So it's just their makeup is different than the other kid. So you're either born with empathy or you don't got it. So, and if you don't have empathy, those are the ones that tend to go down the narcissist antisocial line. So, I hope that answered the question. It's really early in the morning. I'm trying to drink coffee. I'm like, oh, I'm not awake. Okay, so, yeah, so that's nature and nurture. And it's important because, you know, nature sets us up. Nurture tosses us over the cliff or holds us back from the cliff. So, you know, if families in which there's a borderline child, if that child could have gotten help, if they had gotten away from the abuser, if they could have gotten DBT therapy, they would be doing much better. Let me toss this. Whoa, where is the recycling? There it is. They would be doing much better than being forced to stay in an abusive family situation and, you know, continuing the maladaptive behaviors. So, you know, they were more susceptible to the abuse. They're more susceptible than the other siblings, and so they started adapting these maladaptive behaviors. If they had gotten away from them, though, and start working on them and get help, the maladaptive behaviors stop. Some of the thinking will still continue, but for the majority of the time, the maladaptive behaviors stop because the abuse has stopped, you know? And so, because borderline is born of trauma. Let's be clear about that. Narcissism is not. And there's a whole group of people who are trying to say, narcissists are just hurt little, oh, go blow it out your ear. Seriously. No, they're not. No, they're not. It is not born of trauma. It absolutely is not. So, but borderline is. Borderline is absolutely born in trauma. So nature, nurture, you know, you can get that. If you get that kid the help they need and deserve, then they're going to have a much better life, as opposed to staying in that relationship, allowing that parent to continue to torment and harm that kid. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if you can get them away from the trauma and get them the help that they need, then they've got a shot. You know what I'm saying? So nature, nurture, it's really important. And it's really, it's the eternal question in psychology. Well, you know, is it nature or is it nurture? I think it's nature. I do. I think we're born with stuff, and I think nurture plays a huge part, and it either pushes you over the edge or it pulls you back from the edge. So the first 2 years of life are extremely important for development. They used to say 4 years. I'm like, it's earlier than that. It's 2 years. So the first 2 years in life is really important for attachment. It really is, because that kind of sets up how that attachment is, and, you know, how secure the kid feels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If there's an insecure attachment, that's when you're going to get start developing borderline personality disorder, because that's where it comes from, the fear of abandonment. So, yeah, nature, nurture. Nurture is hugely important. Absolutely. You better be treating those kids right. But nature sets us up. We have a predisposition to it. Because, like I said, you can have a family with the same abusive parent or parents, and one kid will go absolutely bananas, and the other kids will be relatively okay and, getting help and whatever. So, yeah, it's the eternal question. So I hope that answered it. If it didn't, please, let me know. All right. If you have no family and friends and have health problems, where do you start? I'm afraid of failing. There is no failure, hun. Even if you fail, it's a win because you're learning. So really, that's the way to look at it. So remember, when we have abusive parents, especially narcissists, they will do the whole, everything is a win. It has to be a win. It's win or lose. There's no middle ground for them. It's like all, nothing, good, bad, black, white, win, lose, which is stupid because that's not the way the world works. The world is a plethora of different colors and all sorts of shades of gray. So you basically have to allow yourself to fail. That's how we learn. Oh, dear God, I have stuck my foot in my mouth so many times. And each time I go, oh, damn it. Okay, how can I fix this? Okay, fix it. Okay, let's move on. So if I'd stuck my foot in my mouth and I allowed myself to stay in shame and blame and guilt and this and that and the other thing, I would never be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be helping as many people as I'm helping. So you cannot be afraid of failing. You can't. Because here's the thing. Babies learn by failing. How do they learn to walk? They get up, they toddle a few steps, and then they fall. And then they get up and they toddle a few steps, and then they fall. So they learn by failing. It's like, oh, wait, okay, so if I'm going to not fall, I need to balance. Okay, I got it. And if you're never allowed to fail, you're never going to learn. This is how we learn, unfortunately. It's like, okay, well, that didn't work. Now what? What can I do better? What can I do differently? What can I do whatever? So you start, first of all, by working on that fear of failure. So having no family, no friends, and having health issues. You start by the positive mirror work. First of all, it's like, hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to learn. And that means not always being perfect at it. And it's okay. It's okay. So that's the first thing you do. So mirror work, self-esteem, the self-esteem workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. That's going to help you a lot. And the disease to please, Harriet Breaker, learning boundaries, so that you don't, as you get stronger, you don't go out and start replaying family issues kind of thing. So I think one of the lies that we get, especially if we were raised by a covert narcissist. So remember, covert narcissists play the victim. Victim, 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 victim. Oh, I can't because, oh, this is horrible. Oh, this is the worst thing ever. Oh, everybody hates me, blah, blah, blah. So they're always the victim. And I think that is a learned behavior that we pick up, where we go, oh, I can't. Oh, no, this won't work. Oh, yes, but. Yes, butters. So you don't want to do that. So just because you have no family and friends and you have health problems does not mean that you cannot start on yourself. Meaning self-esteem workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, and the disease to please, Harriet Breaker, and get with a good trauma therapist. So that's important. And here's the thing. Not everybody is going to have friends and family. Some people don't because of abuse, situations, whatever. So you've got to start being friends with yourself first. Learning to love yourself first. And I talked about this last week. It's like you've got to have your own emotional safety, meaning you know who you are, you like who you are. You don't need to have somebody around you 24/7, that kind of thing. But when we're from a family where there's covert narcissism going on, we've picked up fleas about the being a victim. Victim, 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 victim. And it's like, no, you've got options. I had a client this week and overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, there's no options. There's nothing. And I stop, breathe, breathe. Let's look at your options. And then I came up with a list of 20 options for her. So it's like there's always options. There's always things to do. There's always ways to make things better. So having no family and friends, if they were toxic, that's probably a good thing. Having health issues, that needs to be obviously managed. Where do you start? Work on that fear of failing. There is no failing. It's like you learn. It's just the way we do things. Work on self-esteem, loving yourself, liking yourself. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to like yourself. I give you permission to heal. I give you permission to find good friends that will be your family. Family's not always blood, guys. Family is definitely not always blood. And when we get older and we realize how dysfunctional the family of origin is, or there is no family of origin anymore, maybe they've died or diseased or whatever, it's important to go seek your own family that is not blood. Go find good, healthy friends. And the way you do that is working on yourself. And out of working on yourself, you start allowing yourself to do the things that you enjoy, that you love, and you will find like-minded people. So there that is. Basically, you want to also work on the fleas from the covert narcissism. The whole, I can't, this is too much, I'm going to fail. That's fleas. Those are fleas. Squish them, squish them, squish them, squish them. You don't need them. Okay, is it common for abusers to do their verbal abuse in the car? Oh, frick, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Abusers look for any opportunity that they can trap you. Any opportunity that they can trap you. So some of the most horrific fights I've been told about have been in cars because the abuser has you in a confined space. They can lock the door. They could do the child lock thing where you can't unlock it. Yes, it is very common for abusers to do their verbal abuse in the car, especially going down the freeway at 65 miles an hour or 101 miles an hour if you live in Scottsdale. So nobody does the speed limit there. So yeah, they do that because you're a trapped audience. You're trapped. They can control whether the door is opened or not. You're limited in your ability to get away from them. Yeah. And usually it escalates to physical abuse. So yeah, if that's been happening, don't get in the car with them. Seriously. It usually the verbal abuse in cars usually escalates. All right. I hope that answered the question. I am in an abuse survivor. Wait a minute. I am an abuse survivor and I have an eating disorder. How do I heal? Okay. Two-pronged. You need to get a therapist that is really good in eating disorders. And we do develop eating disorders from abuse, you betcha. Because a lot of abusers, especially if it was parental abuse, they control what we eat, when we eat, how much we eat, etc. They comment on our bodies. They comment on our weight. They comment on, yeah. So The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van de Kolk is an excellent book. I would start with a therapist that is trauma-informed. So a trauma-informed therapist that understands eating disorders. You can find them. They are out there. So you just need to interview them and say, okay, I have abuse in my past. I have a lot of trauma and I have an eating disorder and I need two-pronged. I need to work on the trauma and I also need to work on the eating disorder. So yeah, you just start. I think The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van de Kolk would be a good place to start. There's books out there on eating disorders, and you didn't mention what kind of eating disorder, so I'm not sure which way to direct you because there's different. So whatever you're doing, if it's the purging, the binging, find a good book on that. If it's the anorexia where you're just not eating and cutting it up into very tiny little pieces, find a good book on that. Get with a good therapist, get with a good trauma therapist, and work two-prong on both the eating disorder and the trauma. Because I'll bet you the trauma precipitated the eating disorder. So, yeah, and they do that to us. So, yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. But do go get help. So that's how you start healing. Okay, how do I keep relationship with my child that was alienated by my ex? Child is an adult and acts just like the ex. Okay, you may or may not be able to. So kids align with the abuser, especially if they didn't get therapy during the whole breakup divorce thing, because they don't have a safe outlet. And so the abuser makes it clear that if the kid doesn't align with them, they're in trouble. Whereas if the kid has got an advocate, a therapist, they know they can say whatever they need to. And hopefully, if the therapist is good, it'll never get back to the alienating parent. And they have a record and it can help them in court. So kids tend to side with the abuser if there's no intervention. Some of the kids become just like the abuser. So kids do one of 3 or 4 things. They either become just like the abuser, they get into drugs or alcohol because they're trying to numb the pain, they get pregnant or get involved with somebody because they want to be loved and they shouldn't be getting involved and they shouldn't be having kids at this point, or they go crazy, like cray, because they're trying to escape, they're trying to get out of it. So if the kid is an adult and they're just like the ex, you may or may not be able to keep the relationship with them. You could ask them to go to family therapy with you. You could. Don't know if that's going to work. If they are a narcissist, it's not going to work. And they'll use whatever you say in therapy against you. If they are just under the fog of the other alienating parent, then there's a chance. If you get with a good trauma family therapist and start working on your guys' relationship, then you have a chance. 9 times out of 10, though, what ends up happening is the parent goes to the kid and says, adult kid, and says, hey, let's do therapy. And the adult kid goes, screw you, I don't want to do it. You're crazy, blah, blah. We don't need therapy. I don't need therapy, blah, blah, blah. Because that's the stuff that the ex usually spews, because narcissists don't want to be seen. And that's why they don't like therapists, because they know good therapists see them. So you can try that. You can try get a trauma-informed family therapist and ask your child if they would like to go to therapy with you. And if they say no, drop it. And it's probably not ever going to be a super strong relationship. So, cordial, distant, supporting, whatever. But if they're aligning with the abuser, then yeah, be careful. Be careful. That's all I gotta say. All right. Why do we keep minimizing and making excuses for our abuser, especially when considering leaving? Fear and grooming. So our family of origin, this one's going to be kind of long because I want to get these questions done so I can get rid of them. Family of origin grooms us to make excuses for the abuser. I mean, how many times have we said, hey, I see the pink elephant taking a dump in the corner of the living room, and the family goes, oh, no, you don't. No, you do. There's no pink elephant. Oh, well, the pink elephant had a really rough childhood. The pink elephant had, all these excuses. And you're sitting here going, what the? So we make excuses for our abuser because we've been groomed. Our family of origin probably did that, made excuses for whatever abuse was going on. So, we do that because it's fear and it's groomed. It's learned behavior. And we're afraid. Think about it. Fear, obligation, guilt. So our abuser creates this fog, fear, obligation, guilt, and we've been groomed and trained to make excuses for them and for the behavior and to minimize it. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Oh, it wasn't that bad. It's that bad. I'm sorry, it is. What's terrifying to me is when a target of abuse sits in front of me and black eyes, broken nose. Oh, it wasn't that bad. It could have been worse. Well, you could be dead. I'm glad you're not. But let's be real here. This is bad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's amazing how we do that. And it's a maladaptive behavior to try to stay safe. And you're not going to stay safe. You make excuses, you minimize it. That just keeps you in the loop longer with a greater chance of you ending up dead. So yeah, you don't want to do that. And we do that, especially when we're considering leaving, because we're terrified. Well, better the devil we know than the devil we don't. Well, the devil you don't is actually a real angel, not this jerk. You know what I'm saying? So it's the fear. It's the fear. So I strongly recommend getting with a good trauma therapist, coming up with a safety plan so that you can get out. And there are safety plans on the internet. So if you want to find a safety plan, just type in domestic abuse safety plan and it will pop up. So use that and don't minimize. And this is the hard thing, is that when we're with an abuser, we can't necessarily write ourselves lists because we don't want them finding them. But you're going to have to somehow mentally write yourself a list of every rotten thing that abuser has done, so that you remind yourself when you start going, oh, well, it's not that bad. Okay, hold on. Let's think about this, this. Oh. Do you see where I'm going with that? So yeah, it's really important to not minimize. And it is the fear. It is the fear. And fear is false evidence appearing real. So it's probably, again, the Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor, or any Inner Child Workbook. I don't care. Just get one, start reading it. It's probably the inner child going, but, what's it going to be like? And how am I going to survive? And and it's the inner child. How old do you feel when you start making excuses for them? That's a really good starting point. How old do you feel when you start making excuses for them? And that's the age that needs to be worked on. Okay. All right. I hope that answered the question. My abusive spouse plays chicken with me in the car, with the kids in the car. Is this something that they do? Have you read my book? So yeah, this is absolutely something they do. So in my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad? I talk about Dad playing chicken in the car with me and my sister. And was my mom ever in the car when he did that? I think he did do that with her in the car once, and she put a stop to it. But then when she wasn't there, he would do it with us in the car. Yeah, they play chicken because they enjoy the adrenaline rush and they enjoy the fear. They're sadists. They're sadists. They enjoy terrifying people, and they especially enjoy terrifying the target of abuse, the spouse, if you're in the car with the kids, because they know those kids are your number one priority and they're threatening to take it away. And they like the look on your face. They like the fear. They like the scared. They're just freaking sadistic a-holes, basically. So yes, that is something that they do. And if you read my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad, which is on Amazon, it's also Audible. I do the reading for it. Yeah, they absolutely play chicken with kids in the car, and it's intentional, and it's intended to create fear. Absolutely. Okay, I think those are all. Oh, look at that. It's all the questions. Yay. All right, so that's that. Okay, so this week, I will be back, hopefully. This week on We Need to Talk, I will be talking about Munchausen by proxy. So why do abusers pathologize? Why do abusers harm? Why do they hurt? Why do they, make their kids sick? Why do they claim that they have all these mental illnesses, etc., or physical illnesses? So Munchausen by proxy. I will do that on Sunday, the 27th. So this coming Sunday. So anyway, I am going to go see if I can see the Aurora Borealis and all that sort of fun stuff and play with my great nieces and have a good week. So you guys go have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.